Welcome to Laurie's Little Studio. I'm Laurie, and today I have this in front of me. Last week I did a video talking about this little panel right here that I fell in love with, and I purchased some fabric to be the backing or the binding. We'll see how that all works out, because I have some packages that I think may contain some of those products. This pattern right here arrived before any of the others, and it is one that I'm planning to make. I have the overnight bag, which is what that's called, and this is the Simplicity 2274 by Studio Cherries. Cherries is Cherie. And the luggage tag, which, my goodness, that is so cute. Now, I admittedly, I do not have clear sewable vinyl. I'm not sure if I'm going to try to repurpose something else to make that clear cover, or if I'll just try to find some that I can purchase. I really don't like the idea of purchasing something to use when I may have an alternative. I don't know, we'll find out. But I love how big they are and how bright they are, and that you could potentially use those for many different things, not just as a luggage tag. But anyway, so that's one thing that arrived in the progression of things that I have purchased. I love this. I do need to also get myself a 20-inch zip, I believe. All right, so let's find out what we have in this package. If you've been following me, you know that I always put something on the handle of the scissors that I use for cutting paper or plastic or anything that is non-organic. That way I don't mistakenly grab my Kai scissors, which are super sharp for fabric. Okay, this feels like a pattern. I'm really excited to see it. Look at this, you guys. I'm so excited for this one. Okay, so that was the other project. And then this is from my daughter. I had a question on the little, well, I'll show you. I've made this particular pattern many times, and I've made all three sizes. There's a small, a medium, and a large. And I had a question about the handles, and I almost always have a question about the zipper. So I'm going to make it again, and I already know what fabric I'm going to use. And I'll do a very slow, non-fast forwarded way of showing how to do the zipper on the top and the handles. Okay, this I think is for me, so I'll read that off camera. And so it's the McCall's K-Wit design M5822, and I think I will make the medium one. I'll be doing this one right here, and you'll get a close-up, slow, regular speed, how to do these handles and how to do this zipper. And this is going to be fabric. I just don't know which one it is. Here we go. Oh, it's so pretty. Yeah, here it is. All right, so it's David Textiles, licensed by Wild Apple, and the name of it is B-E-E Harmony. How adorable. To use with this, which I think is perfect. So that is what that's for. And then I have two other projects sitting on my table to talk about. So the first one is this right here, and here's the fabric. This, of course, is white eyelet. I think you can see it. Just two different pieces. It's the same fabric, it's just cut in two pieces. And to be honest, I don't recall how many yards of this I have. Oh, and before I forget to mention it, this over here is 2 yards. Okay. So for my youngest daughter, I am going to be making this top of the McCall's M7900. So no ruffles, just a plain little top. And then this skirt, this view of the Berta 6340, it's a wrap skirt right there. And that will also be made out of the white eyelet. I will link it below. It was an Amazon purchase. The next project I have is this. I have these 3 kitchen towels that I purchased because I am upgrading my winter, dull, fall, blah, brown, I don't really want to look at it anymore, kitchen. And I had thought that I would do some applique on it, and then I started seeing at World Market and a couple of other places like Hobby Lobby and Joann Fabrics, there are these gingham towels. They're just a cotton, 100% cotton, washable, fairly decent quality cotton towels. And at these other locations, they've been embroidered and they're just gorgeous. Well, I didn't really have any embroidery patterns, so I went on to Google and I discovered that DMC, basically DMC.com, offers free downloadable printable patterns. And I want you to see this. This is the first that you get, your first page, and it tells you all about, you know, this is the design and this is your color key. And then here is what you would trace. And then here is your color code. And then here is your stitch guide. And then here are the instructions. I also printed off this one, which I think is so cute. Now it's a little bit different, but it is also from DMC.com, and there's that design. And this is your little color key. These are your instructions. And then it tells you there's a transfer pen method, which I think you can get those pens at Hobby Lobby. And my printer went berserk this morning and printed out 3 of these. So I have one for myself, one for my daughter in Oregon, and one for my daughter in down the street. And I will give each one of them one of these. We all like to do embroidery, so I don't know what happened to the printer, but it just kind of lost its mind. They do that sometimes. I'm in love with these towels. I think they'll be a really cute addition to my kitchen. Okay, so what I need to do is decide what I'm going to do first. So I've settled on a project. I remembered seeing this when I was cleaning up my studio a couple weeks ago. There is a video of that event that I will link in the description box below this video if you want to watch that one. But this is a product that when I bought it, of course, this is how it looked, and it was covered in plastic. So I just remove that label and pop it in the tube so I don't lose it. But this is an iron-on tearaway called Totally Stable, and it's made by the Sulky brand, and it's really good for doing this type of project. Let me get this straightened out just a little bit. So the instructions on the back of the wrap piece tell you, of course, on the front it says it's great for applique, monogramming, decorative stitching, fabric stamping, buttonholes. It's really good for a whole lot of different types of stitching where you want your fabric to be stable. The great thing about this is it's tearaway, and it does basically completely disappear if the work you're doing is heavy enough. I wouldn't want to make a black buttonhole with this product. I would want to use a wash away, I think, if I were doing it with black, because you will get little bits of white showing through. But for what I'm going to do is you trace or transfer your design onto this product, and then you use a soft tip marker, like an extra fine permanent ink marker, or a washout marker, or even a pencil. Then after you have done that, the iron-on transfers can be ironed onto the Totally Stable as you are adhering Totally Stable to your fabric, or you can iron this to your fabric and then put the design on that way. I think it's going to be easier for me to use it as a tracing paper and then iron it to my fabric. You can use it as a reusable design template that can be ironed in place several times, or just simply as a pattern guide and a stitching support for the piece of that you're doing, like for example with monogramming, punch needle, or applique. If you're doing embroidery with a dark thread onto a dark fabric, I don't recommend using the white Totally Stable tearaway. I just don't think it's a good idea. Okay, so there's a waxy side, and then there is kind of a weird papery side. If I'm not mistaken, this is the side that you iron down, and the papery side is what you press on. I'm going to see if it tells us how to do it. So the problem is we have to decide. So I'm going to make a little tiny piece here. I just feel like this waxy side is what gets pressed down. So let me get a piece of fabric that I can sacrifice for a test. Yeah. This is one that I've drawn on, so it doesn't matter. There, you can see that. Let's try this. No. Oh, I need to turn this ring light so that it's behind me. There we go. So anyway, this can be my little test piece of fabric, and I will show you what it looks like when I come right back. I always press with a press cloth so I don't get anything on my iron. I will say I always do, but I was right. The papery side is what should be where your iron or the heat should come from. I'm not going to pull this off yet. I want to show you that if you have your pattern, which is right here, and of course you can see through your fabric, which that would be, you would have to be able to see through your fabric if you put it on the fabric first. And I can kind of see through it. Okay. All right, and then you can see I would do embroidery on top of this. And this is going to be my embroidery needle right here. It is, how big is this? It is 2 1/4 inches long. Trace it right on here. And I'm going to trace it with the paper side up so that I'm not ironing it with the glue side having the design on it. I think it would be a better idea to do it this way. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to trace my design and iron it down. Now if I'm lucky, this tape will remove easily and I will be able to keep this design to use in the future. Alright, so I'm going to work my way from the top to the bottom, and when I get about halfway I'll turn it. That way I won't be, you know, rubbing my hand across. A lot of times when you trace, it is less intuitive than drawing. Just a little bit of a tear there, but not too bad. It can definitely still be used. Okay, so I'm just gonna fold this washi tape. And then I'm going to cut, because I don't want to press the washi tape to a press cloth or parchment paper or anything like that. Okay, so there's the color print, there's my iron-on, and I'm going to go ahead and press it to this. I want to see approximately where it will go. I'm thinking not past this first little row of gingham. So I will probably stay away from this line right here. And I will pop this right here, which puts it pretty much in the center, about right there. Okay, and I'll pin it with, now if I use my glass head pins, I can press right on top and they won't melt. So I'm just going to put one there. One there, and see what I think about placement. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and finish. Put another pin here. Okay, so I'm just going to go press this. Now remember, it's not going to press the ink to this. It's just going to press this piece of paper to this. And then I can put this right here and do the embroidery. So let me go take care of that real quick. And I'll show you when I return. And I wanted to point out that I'm using a piece of parchment paper. And the reason I'm doing that instead of a press cloth is if I get it wrong, if for some reason, whatever happens, I end up pressing this on the wrong side, you know, the sticky side up, it will stick to a press cloth, but it won't stick to my parchment paper. So that's why, and I can use that piece of parchment paper over and over 100 times, which is one of the reasons why I love parchment paper. Okay, so it's basically pressed on. And now I can just take my embroidery hoop. And I do my embroidery hoop this way. I know a lot of really talented stitchers do it the opposite direction, where this is on the bottom and this is on the top. I, for some reason, can't get my head wrapped around that. I wish I could. There's probably great benefit to it, but I've tried. I have. Can't do it. All right, so we'll get that nice and tight. I think I put it on upside down. Yes, I did. And then all I have to do is choose the colors out of the huge, massive bin of, it's not this one, it's this one that's upside down. Okay, gosh. I know I'm not the only one. I've had a whole day and 2 more packages arrived. So I'm just going to go ahead and open these 2, which will have, you know, some sort of reason for being in this video relating to the projects that we talked about earlier. The first one feels quite large. Okay. Oh, this is exciting. Okay, so this fabric that I'm going to pull, there's 2 pieces of fabric in this particular package. The first one I'm going to pull out is what I'm going to use for lining most of the patterns that I talked about earlier today. And that is some lovely muslin. This is just your basic 63-inch wide Hanes muslin. And that would be 100% cotton. It's basically the same weight as the cottons that I'm using, and it will make a perfect lining for the bags. And it's kind of like the oatmeal version with the little extra dots, like freckles. Okay, so that's perfect. And yeah, this is 2 yards. And as I said, it's 63 inches wide. And I purchased it on Amazon, and we'll link it down below in the description box. And I will do the same thing for these other items as well. They're all Amazon. Okay, so this one, I'm going to grab the pattern real quick. Where did I put it? There it is. Okay, so the fabric that I decided to go with for the main body of the bag in this Simplicity 2274 overnight bag is this. This is just not the cutest thing ever. I love this. It's 2 yards, 45 inches wide. And if I can find, here it is. And I purchased it on Amazon. And as you can see, it's just tossed chickens. How cute is this? How adorable. Look at their little feet. They're so cute. Okay, so there's that. And this is the fabric that will be going with this project. Well, I hope that's what this is. Yep. I think it's just beautiful. It's a Michael Miller fabric, 45 inches wide. And it's called the Air of Spring. And I think that these colors just look really pretty together. And if you've been following me for a while, you may have seen my Noritake Blue Hill dishes and my Blue Willow dishes. So I have a lot of these blues in my dinnerware. There's this really dark section, but I feel like this print and these colors are really pretty with the blues and the gingham. Even this orange has some of that pretty background color in there, and I feel like for my table runner it's just perfect. I think I'm going to end up having to purchase some more batting. That might be an actual I have to do it kind of thing. I did locate and purchase online some floss drops and a ring, so I'll be winding up my floss on those. And they're not pretty, they're not cute, they're just your regular old, spool looking floss drops, or floss cards, or thread drops, whatever you want to call them. And I don't want to start working on this until I have my floss sorted and ready to go. So this goes with this, and I will be able to give this to Jessica tomorrow because we're going to be going shopping. She texted me and asked if I wanted to go to World Market with her tomorrow morning, so we'll be doing that. I think I'll go ahead and stitch this for her. Make sure it has all the parts and pieces. She loves to do embroidery, so that would be a good idea to have that ready for her tomorrow. And I do think it's very important because this is for someone other than myself. I'm going to cut a piece of that Solvay paper that I used and stitch it in. And stitch it in here so she'll have it as well. Alright, so I have a piece of that tracing paper that I'm just going to... Bama's mad because somebody's walking by the house. So here's her little book with her piece of tracing paper, her design, and instructions. Alrighty. And I think I'll use a piece of washi tape. We'll go with 2. One there, and one there. Ooh. Okay, nice little kit. Well, a whole day has gone by. And I got a mess here, but it's just right here. There's the rest of my room, the rest of the Laurie's little studio area is pristinely clean and everything is put away nice. But I wanted to open this because it arrived today, and we need to see what it is because there are other things that go to the projects that I talked about yesterday. So here we go. What's in there? Aha. So this is I call them floss drops, but I think they're called bobbins. Alright, so I have my floss bobbins or floss drops, whatever you want to call those, wound with the colors that I've chosen. I've decided on this needle. It is a large eye. This eye area is gold right here, but it's got a sharp point, and I need a sharp point to go through the paper that my design has been drawn onto. Okay, so for the French knots, in this particular case, due to the fact that I am doing this on a kitchen towel, I'm going to tie, I've got my knot tied right there, and I'm going to come up from the bottom. Okay. And I'm going to wrap 3 times, and then I'm going to hold the wraps with the pointer finger on my right hand. I've got my floss over here in my left hand. Well, I'm going to let go of that for just a minute while I reorient, and I'm going to just go right next to where I came up. And now I'm going to hold this piece of floss and pull this needle through with putting tension on that knot. And I usually just push these two pieces of floss away from each other and allow it to enter back into the fabric. And I have a French knot. That's the way I do them. Okay guys, so I have been working on French knots, and that's how much I've done so far. I was concerned that the paper would be irritating and get in the way, and it really isn't, not at all. It's not something I'm used to doing, but I will say it's not posing a problem. So I ordered my 20-inch nylon zippers for the projects that we've been talking about over here, the bags. That overnight bag requires one 20-inch zipper. And I wanted, to be completely honest, I wanted to use a lace zipper on my project, but because the, wait a minute, let me get this split. Oh, goodness. This floss is not the best. This was great. This one is just not behaving itself, and I'm a little disappointed. And that happens sometimes. It's just kind of an off-brand floss that I will use it up, but it's just kind of fussy. So let me show you. This is the project I'm talking about. This is the Simplicity 2274. And this bag has a 20-inch zipper. You can actually kind of see it on this bottom one, how it goes around that top edge. So I wanted to use lace zippers, and you can get 20-inch lace zippers. They're applied to the outside of your project, and they show real pretty. So my thought was, ooh, I could use a lace zipper there. However, since I'm going to be showing you guys the process of making one, I thought I'd better do the first one with just a regular insertable zipper. So anyway, that I took care of that today. Alrighty. Okay, so the way to do a colonial knot, the way I do them, is I do a backward letter C right here with my floss. And I have my floss needle in my right hand, and I'm going to go underneath that backwards C. So I just go underneath it like so, and then I take what's left over in my hand and I wrap it over. Wait. I'm going to probably do 2 colonial knots per little circle here. So I have one in place. Now I'm going to lay down my floss into a backward C, like so. And then just, you know, put your needle right on top, slip it under. So here's your backward C, just go whoop underneath. And then bring your working thread, the thread that's outside of that needle, over the top, and you'll have what kind of looks like a figure 8 or an infinity symbol. Okay, so just kind of give it a little bit of a tug. Take the point of the needle and go back down next to the part where the thread, the floss, you know, came out from up underneath. That makes a whole lot of sense, I know, but I'll just show you again. Now I like to have a bit of pressure on the floss as it's going back into the fabric. All right, so we're going to emerge. Let me find you again. Okay, we're going to emerge right here. Okay, like there. Make sure we don't have any knots on the back. We don't. Lay our floss down in a shape of a backward C right there. Just to kind of get the feel of it, you can just set your needle on the back side of that C and slip it underneath, and then wrap this side of your floss over your needle. And this is where it really helps to have a longer needle to work with. And then just kind of tug it and put the point of your needle back through the fabric next to, but not on top of, the original point of entry in the fabric. And then I like to put a little bit of pressure over here on the floss as it ties that knot. You've been making the backward C, you've been slipping that needle under there and then wrapping this around, but eventually you will be able to just do this without having to do the C, because this is the same thing. You're just wrapping it and going in. The backward C helps because when you're teaching it or when you're learning it, if you forget it, you're like, oh, how does that stitch go again? I was going to do some more of those when I put this down 3 weeks ago, and I can't remember. Obviously, it's easy because you're doing colonial knots, and this backward C can kind of help you remember, oh, it's, you know, it's a C. And it is a backward C, clearly. I'm not using a phone that's making the video backwards. This is definitely a backwards C. Before I forget to say this, because I don't want to forget to say this, this might look a little bit heavy for a lot of people who are either new to embroidery or who are less inclined to do big, heavy embroidery projects like this. I hope that that's not going to stop you. You can always make this your own by doing an outline stitch and an outline in the middle. You don't have to follow this stitch guide at all. You can completely make all of these stitches your own stitches. You can do some of them outline and some of them heavy. It just adds to the charm, and I really would like to encourage anybody who is interested in doing something like this to give it a go. A package arrived tonight in the mail. Our mail usually arrives early. We usually check it late. So anyway, I know what this is because that is on the back. And I'm kind of excited. Okay, so these are my scissors that will open. I have to get these lights set up right. Sorry about the shaky. But if it has a piece of fabric tied to the handle, that means it's safe to cut plastic or cardboard or paper. So this is my 3.5 inch wide jute webbing, which is a requirement for this pattern right here, the Simplicity 2274. It states on the back, jute webbing, well, 3 3/4 yard of 3.5 inch or 9 centimeter wide. And this is 4 yards, and it is literally 3.5. I'm going to go ahead and open it so I can show you what I mean. Now, I did purchase this on Amazon, and I will link it below this video so that you can also look for this if you want this 4-yard pack. This is right at 3.5 inches. So 1, 2, 3, and 1/2. And we're going to cover it with fabric, but I'm going to leave it in here until we get ready to do that particular project. I needed to clarify a couple of things, and I have a stitch that I want to show you that I'm going to fix. So on these, I have a little stitch that I need to take care of. You know how sometimes you'll get a little bit of a stitch that just doesn't look right. I can show you how to fix it without tearing the whole thing out. But I also need to clarify that I'm not doing this, in case you looked up this, I am definitely not doing these stitches in the manner that this particular project indicated, because I just jumped right in, as I typically do, and started doing French knots and some colonial knots. And that's just the way I do things, because I looked at this and I thought, oh, French knots. I love French knots. Okay. But after careful looking through, re-examining this, I realized that these are actually white. The code number is 16. The color number is B5200, and you use 4 strands, and you do all white French knots. Then you go back with your blue and your pink, and you do this little stem stitch right here, code D, stem stitch all around each of the berries. Each one of these French knots will be surrounded by a stem stitch, and the stem stitch is going to be D, let's look at this, D4, so D, 4, I'm trying to figure out how they're calculating. Oh, right, okay. So the stem stitch, for example, this right here, is done with a color number 164, which is kind of a grayish green right there. Grayish bluish green. And then, of course, these here, the blue, they're done with D15, and 15 is 931. So that is what is giving each of these little groups of nodules on the berry, each individual berry, its color. So you start with the white, you make your French knots, and then you go back and you add the stem stitch. But I would do this if I were framing it. Honest to goodness, this to me looks frameable if it's done the way that DMC has written out this, this project. For a kitchen towel, I think I'm going to just continue in this vein. There are so many free downloadable patterns at that website that if I choose to do something really precise, I'll probably choose something more floral and less kitchen-y looking to me. So I am going to continue going the way I'm going right now. Now I'm going to show you this little stitch. Let me grab my pokey stick out of my, oh, here it is right here. Okay. So this stitch right here has a loop. I'm going to try to turn it. Yep, I think you can see. Hold it right there, where the floss did not go down all the way through and have a nice snug fit. In fact, it's a big enough loop that I can stick my pointer right through it. So there it is. Now you can see it. Okay, so the way that I fix these when it happens, here's my needle right here, and it's sitting right at the end of this stitch right here. I'm going to pull my needle up, and I'm also going to decrinkle. See how crinkly and twisted my floss is? Without unthreading my needle. I don't mind unthreading it because it has a big eye, but what I'm going to do is just take my needle and push it down and with tension pull it back up, and that kind of removes those crinkles. Sometimes you just have to take it to the ironing board and lay it flat and press it. Now you can also unthread your needle and do like this. You do run the risk of fuzzing it up. I can't fix this messed up French knot if I have a whole lot of curl in my floss. Okay, so now that I've got this up here, I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to push it through that loop of floss like it's going through a tunnel, like so. And I'm going to wrap it around again. Oh, wrap it around again. I need eyes on the top of my head so that I can watch the camera and do this at the same time. Okay, just like that. So I've added a little bit of extra depth to the loop. And now I'm just going to take this and I'm going to poke it right back in, not in the same hole that I brought the needle up, but close to it. And I'm just going to pull this down. And sometimes you have to make sure that that's going to go right over the top. So I just took another needle and pushed it so that the loop I just made is right centered on top. And I'm going to pull it down. And it makes a beautiful little knot. It's almost like a stitch. It's almost like an actual, I could use this in my stitch catalog if I wanted to. Hey guys, as you can see, I have not done very much on my embroidery project, but I got a little distracted with fabrics. So I've been washing, clearly need to be starching and pressing. I've had several fabrics come in. Of course, the zippers have come in, and I needed to pair up the zippers with the fabrics and then kind of decide if there were other things that I needed to get. And that took up a lot of time, but I mean, it's just been a lot of fun working on these. The other thing that I've done, and I'm sorry, I'm filming on my phone camera because Big Beast, I have not put in a new SD card, and Power Director on my computer to edit with gets a little bit fussy if I take out the SD card that I'm working on, which is what I'm doing right now. So sorry about that. Anyway, I've gotten these cut in the manner that I wanted them cut, and I'm going to start working on this project because Easter will be here before I know it, and I've got, like I said before, a bunch of projects, which is really my jam. I'm excited about that. I love having a whole bunch of back-to-back projects. And I also will have some cards that I need to make for the Easter holiday. So that's another project, which is fantastic. I got cut off. The whole point of me doing a video on my phone was to just kind of wrap this one up and tell you guys that I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and go ahead and hit that like button if you like this video. If you've not already subscribed, please consider doing so, and that little bell will tell you when I have posted a new video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.